Good morning and welcome very warmly to the Vicarage here at Penn. Hope this finds you well on this lovely Wednesday morning. Anyway, sympathy this morning, something to do with Hurricane Francis, they tell me. The golf course is closed today. But never mind, I'm sure I'll have a lovely day. And I hope you have a lovely day. And I hope whatever you have planned, I hope it goes really well for you today. Now, we're working our way through the early chapters of Acts of the Apostles. And I have to say, thank you really, because I'm looking at it in a way I've never have done in quite the same way before. And the whole thing is coming alive for me in a way as it never has done before. So thank you for that. Thank you for this opportunity. And I hope you're enjoying the readings too. Just to remind you, as of the all-important context, what's happened so far, the church is young, but it's growing. And we're talking literally a few weeks after the death and resurrection of Christ. What's happened is there's some growing pains, you might say, and some of the Greek Christians decide they haven't got enough in the food distribution, and they complain about it. So the apostles set up 7 people, what became known as deacons, Greek people, to look after the Greek people, to make sure that they're fed properly. One of them is called Philip, hear about him in a couple of chapters, and one's called Stephen. Now I have to say, I don't know how much food distribution went on, but these guys were on fire with the gospel. So we'll pick it up now. It's Acts of the Apostles, chapter 6. And I'm starting to read at verse 8, and you'll see what I mean. Stephen, full of grace and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. Then some of those who belonged to the synagogue of the freedmen, as it was called, Cyrenians, Alexandrians, and others of the Cilicia and Asia, stood up and argued with Stephen. But they could not withstand the wisdom and the spirit with which he spoke. Then they secretly instigated some men to say, "We've heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and God." They stirred up the people, as well as the elders and the scribes, and they suddenly confronted him, seized him, and brought him before the council. They set up false witnesses who said, "This man never stops saying things against this holy place and the law. For we've heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and will change the customs that Moses handed on to us." And all who sat in the council looked intently at him, and they saw that his face was like the face of an angel. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Now, I think to kind of understand this, as I say, you've got to remember the small time scale. And there's always been opposition to the Jesus movement. But from this moment on, you get the impression the bow breaks. There's a bit of a paradigm shift. There's a change. And as I say, to kind of understand where the opposition comes from, you've got to understand the small time scale. Because you've got people after Jesus had died worshipping in the same temple. And some of them had been friends of Jesus, his followers, his friends and his disciples and so on. You've also got people worshipping in the same temple at the same time who had actually put Jesus to death as well. So you can imagine this is a hotbed situation. Tensions are running high. And then, of course, Jesus rises from the dead, which will rattle a few cages, potentially, what have we done? And then, of course, you've got Pentecost a few weeks later. So these people who'd followed Jesus are now becoming more bold, and they're full of the Holy Spirit. And you can imagine the religious authorities who had put Jesus to death feeling increasingly uncomfortable about this. Then, of course, horror of horrors, that man was healed in the temple, in the beautiful gate. So you can imagine if that rattles a lot of cages as well, because when they do a miracle right under their noses, you can kind of see it coming. But up to this point, you very much get the impression that they kind of thought, well, let's just hope it goes away. It'll pass like all the other things will pass and so on. But at this point, when the Greek people start, Stephen and Philip and so on, start to preach, there seems to be a paradigm shift. The opposition seems to increase significantly. And I do think there are kind of 2 reasons possibly for this. Firstly, the Greek Jews who were around at the time. As I understand it, these were often people who'd come from Greece, Jewish people who'd come from Greece to live in Jerusalem in order to lead a better Jewish life, a more pure Jewish life. And when some of their own kind, if you like, had become Christians, you can imagine they were increasingly angry about that. And I think the other reason is, maybe this was the time when they realised this movement isn't going away. This movement is here to stay. There's something really special in this, and they were seriously rattled. But you very much get an impression the opposition takes a new paradigm shift and they're really going for the kill. And there's two things that they accuse Stephen of. And they're basically, it's a false charge. One, they say, is that Jesus said he'd tear the temple down. Jesus never said that. But what, in a sense, he did was what he did do, he never tore the temple down, but he did replace the temple. The temple was a place where you went to meet God. And it was a geographical place, in one place, where you went to meet God. And what Jesus did is he tore the temple, the curtain of the temple was torn in two, because here on in, if you like, Jesus was the place you met God. We talked about Jacob's ladder a couple of days ago, the ladder to heaven, which is Jesus. Jesus is the way we meet God. We don't have to go to a physical temple anymore. We can meet God wherever we meet Jesus, and that's everywhere. So Jesus didn't destroy the temple. What Jesus did instead was provide a temple, provide a place where we can meet God anytime, any place, anywhere. The other thing they accused him of doing was destroying the customs and destroying the law. Jesus never destroyed the law. What Jesus did instead was fulfill the law. The law was impossible to keep. No one's good enough. As the hymn says, there was none other good enough to bear the price of sin. None of us can do it. As St. Paul said, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. None of us can achieve the whole thing because none of us is good enough. What Jesus did instead is he's the one that did. He did fulfill the law. And if we put our faith in him, he does it for us. He, if you like, is our ticket to ride. We haven't got to do it anymore ourselves. He does it for us. So he didn't destroy the temple. If you like, he replaced the temple. We can meet God in him anywhere we can be. He didn't destroy the law. He fulfilled the law. And he achieved the law. And he did it. And he did it for us. So like I said, that's what he did. He didn't destroy the temple. He, if you like, replaced it and made it so we can meet God anywhere. He didn't destroy the law. He fulfilled it. He did it for you and for me. Jesus, I tell you, my friends, is brilliant. He's done it, and he's done it for us. And Stephen had the courage to stand up in front of the authorities when they opposed him and told them just how brilliant Jesus was. And we hear more of that tomorrow. So God bless you and have a lovely day.